Hello. I have now tucked the edge of seam allowance to my collar, both sides, that side. So if you can see, so that side, and then you can see underneath. Yeah. So it's all tucked. And if you just pay attention how much, so it's about 2-3 millimeters, no more. You don't need it to have big one. If you ended up with too much, it will create the gap on another side. So yeah, so it's all about precision in tailoring. Okay, so that's what I've done. The next stage would be, we're going to tuck your collar inside, the particularly where the collar stand. Okay, on that area in your collar stand, so that's your breaking line here. So we're tucked on that. So in the collar stand, you don't need extra fabric. You actually, in fact, you need less fabric. So what we're going to do is to smooth that fabric away from your break line. Okay. So use your tack and thread, single thread. Again, I always start from the back and go to the front, and then from back go to that front. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just need to make sure you can see. There we go. And yeah, smooth my fabric. So this is my collar stand here. So if you see it here, so that's my collar stand. So center back here. And so just fold it, so make sure my center back matches with the center back, and then start right in the middle of my collar stand and fold my collar here, so I know my breaking line, have enough fabric on that area, and then go through. So what you really need to try, take time, you wanted to go through your canvas but not attaching that side. Okay, so you kind of like, you fold it, but you put a finger underneath, so to make sure you're not catching another canvas, and then pull your fabric a little bit on that area. So that's the area we do here, and that just go in the middle of your collar canvas. Yeah. So that's, I fold it, so make sure I've got enough fabric on that side, and then I pull away from the breaking line. Okay, so when that's done, just make sure I see where I'm going. So that's your that's the breaking line here. You can see red one. So I'm just going to stop here. So I can get in again with my seam allowance. Okay, so that I'm going to stop now. Again, if it's in the way, so you have to obviously unpick a little bit. So when you've done that, so that's, I just did inside the collar on one side. So if you see, so that's what I just done inside. There. Just move slightly, and so you can see. Okay. Now, so I've done that, and then I'm going to continue doing from the center back here to that side of the collar. So it's very important that you do at the same time, which I will do it in a minute. So the next part would be for you is to fold the seam allowance where the facing is. So your facing finished here, that's your facing, and the collar, top collar, so you need to make sure that area, that's the end of the collar, have enough fabric to go, otherwise it will flip opposite way like that, and you don't want that. So so I'm going to check, make sure I have enough seam allowance. So my one seam allowance is a little bit too big, so I'm going to so you're going to mark them. I usually just draw first to see if that's exactly what I want to cut, and then when I'm happy with that, so cut that away and just cut it in bits. So cut that and then fold it over to see if it's enough or not. If it's too much, too bulky here, then I will, you know, cut more of this. So you do it in stages. So yeah, so that's fine here, but I may go and cut inside more because it's curvy line. So that's where sometimes I'm finding more bulk on the color. So if you see that, that's your color here. And sometimes when you got folded underneath, it creates a lot of bulk if you don't trim seam allowance there. So I'm going to trim it a little bit as well. Again, sometimes you have to trim it more. It depends how much you used it at the top of your collar. So my one is trimming more. And then I'm going to trim because I'm just checked all that. So I'm going to trim right to the your shoulder seam. Sorry, I'm just going to see right to the shoulder seam here, and I cut that off. But at the back of your collar, so if you see the center back here, so I trimmed my seam allowance here, that area, I trimmed that area, and I kept all my seam allowance at the center back. So you can see a step here. So step that. So it goes to the facing, where the facing pretty much finished. That's my facing finished. So I leave all that seam allowance at the moment. I will trim it later if it's necessary. And I kept it all seam allowance here, but then I trimmed around the neckline seam allowance. So you can see all that line is all being trimmed because it's too much seam allowance. So I trimmed it about 6-7 millimeters away because it was too much. Again, yours one could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. Depends how much fabric you used it at the top of your collar. In the same manner, what we're going to do is you fold your the top collar, so matching, so it became edge to edge with your facing. So here's your facing, and it became edge to edge to with your facing. So that's my seam allowance, so it's quite a lot here. Yeah, so folding them inside to do edge to edge. So remember, you have to have plenty of the fabric in here, so you fold it on your fingers there. So I'm going to pin it first, just in case I needed to undo. And so make sure you've got the fabric here, like in your facing, because you have to match there, because that's what is most important. Don't pull the fabric, give it a little bit of fabric in that area in your collar, okay? Because you've got, remember we had in the lapel, we've got a dart, which is we have to ease. That's exactly the same. Create that a little bit of extra fabric so you can ease that, you know, in that area. So just going to even push it a little bit more. So just push it a little bit more to the create that, and then I'll continue folding over underneath. Now, where is after the break line? So that's my break line here. After the break line, I don't want extra fabric in that area really. So I want to be nice and smooth, and you can pull it a little bit. So keep folding underneath like that, and you can even, you know, pull more. That's where you can cut extra similar, so you don't have a bulk here around that area, and just continue folding like that. Okay. To that point. Yeah, so that's perfect. Yes, it became H to H. See that? So when it comes to that point here where you snip, I want you to just give a snip more. That's the amount of the fabric you're folding. So like that. As you see, so now I snipped, so just show you again. So I snipped that in order for me to fold it that area and then release that seam allowance down like that. And I'm going to now pin that area. So I probably need to snip a little bit more because I'm folding more seam allowance. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So now can you see that? And I fold that over, and now you can see, so if I open it, you can see you know, the line in between facing and your top collar, and I will show you how to stitch it together and that area as well. So it will be, looks like edge to edge and looks like it's being machined. This side we're doing identically to that. I know you don't have facing, so what I will advise you to do, and that's because it's only color and it's loose color, just fold cut your seam allowance if it's too big, and just fold it. And the same, yeah, fold it like that. So imagine it's the facing here, so fold it to finish the end of the colors in the same manner as we did the top side. Yeah, so the same way. So the same way you've done here, you fold it that side. And the same, so my seam allowance is quite big because it's not being trimmed, but I'll just show you the principle of that. So you fold that, so to finish your color. So yeah, I need to cut my seam allowance there. Is too much and creates a bulk, but just to show you the principle of that. Okay, and then continue folding to the edge. Okay, make sure pull from your break line in the same way you do. Just imagine there's no facing in there. Yeah, so just finishing that, and then come to the point where you need to remember when we have to cut your seam and snip your seam allowance there. Okay, so when you come to that point, so you see that we snipped here. So what I would like you to do, measure that distance and then apply that distance to that side. So what I'm going to do, so I'm measuring that 6.5, and I'm going to apply that distance to that side, and that's where I'm going to, so apply that distance to 6.5 there, and I'm going to mark that. Okay, let's see, that's the distance, and now I'm going to snip in that area. And I'm also going to do, so if you did everything identical, so I'm just going to measure how much I snipped. So I snipped 2 centimeters, and I'm going to mark 2 centimeters, and I'm going to snip to that point. That helps me to know how much I'm folding, and that area will be left unfinished, and I will show you what happens next. Yeah, can you see that? So, but yes, before I finish, I will probably pick and do this again in order to cut some of my seam allowance inside. So just put some fabric so you can see better. So in order for me to finish that area properly, that another side of your collar, so I'm going to go inside again, trim my seam allowance so it's much thin and smaller, and pin it underneath. So pin it all inside like that, and in the same manner as I did my that side of my collar, and then everything going to be tacked in place. Okay, and just leave each corners of your collar, just leave it like this, and I will show you what to do that side, and then I will show you what to do on this side of the collar where it's lapel. So yeah, so that's just to reiterate, is you cut your seam allowance around the neckline of your top collar, put it underneath, pin it, make sure you snip where it goes to your facing. Make sure you snip where it goes to your facing. Do it in stages. Don't just go for it. Just do it in stages. And then when that is done, you pinned it. Do another side. Make sure it's all the same and identical. When it's that done, you just need to tack that area, that side, and tack another side of your collar. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll show you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.